This finished video is going to be about, let me say, 6 to 8 minutes long, and it take me about 30 minutes to record this video. That's to tell you how much brain fog I have right now. It literally taken me about 4 to 5 takes just to get one sentence out. So it's basically Thursday after Diwali. Diwali was Monday. And during that time, let me say for about a 10-day period, I was eating basically a cheat day every day. I was getting over 5,000 calories. You would think that would make a significant change in my weight. And it did. It did make a significant change in my weight. I went from, let me say, about 138 to 140 pounds fluctuating to 133.4 pounds this morning. That real shit, dog. That real shit. I don't know. I mean, basically, I'm not training. I am not training. And from the Tuesday after Diwali, the shot that I got the last time, that is last week Thursday or last week Wednesday or something, it started to go on the down slope. Today is Thursday and I'm feeling like absolute crap. My face even feeling heavy right now. Like you can see how my posture is. I lean forward and I'm doing that to support my hands here. Like to support my whole body here, because I'm feeling like my whole body just too heavy. I start back sweating again, like non-stop. I don't know if you could see it, but literally sweat running all here. Thankfully, I have an appointment to see my doctor this afternoon. So at 4 p.m. I have an appointment to see my doctor. We're going to talk about what I think is doing the intrinsic factor test and then possibly doing more tests to see what's actually going on. Because you get my B12 levels, the serum levels up to about, let me say 650 to 750. It fluctuates in between that range, right? Every 10 days, because right now we space this shot like every 2 to 3 weeks. So every 10 days, I start to feel a dip. And when I say a dip, a major dip. So by the 10th day, I feel like today, my whole body just feeling heavy. Like my face, all here just feeling like a drooping down because I don't know, it's just feeling too heavy, everything. Even my eyelids feeling too heavy. And as much as I wanted to restart training at the beginning of this month, I don't think it will be possible for the longest now, because we had to find some medium with this B12 right now. We have to find a way to find a rhythm that working. Let me say once every 10 days, because the 14 days are a little too long. So let me say once every 10 days or something like that. But I am 100% sure that my doctor would not want to administer more and more B12 when your serum levels or the chart levels that you're getting back from your readings looking perfect, but the symptoms not saying that. So we had to figure out why the symptoms saying something else from what the chart readings saying when they get back a blood test. Now it could be the intrinsic factor, it could be absorption problem in the lower intestine. The funny thing about all that is, right, we're just doing that to find out what the cause is, because it have no way to reverse that. If it's the intrinsic factor, we stop there. We know it's the intrinsic factor, we start to work on finding a regime that works for me. Like we say once every 10 days or something, or once every 8 to 9 days or something like that. If it's not the intrinsic factor, we gotta move now from blood tests, if it's not the intrinsic factor, and start testing stool samples, which is pretty invasive and a little I mean, after all this shit I've been through, literally, I mean, yeah, I don't do it, but God, but you know what I mean. Kinda invasive, but yeah, I do what I have to do. Even though they do that, and let me just say, they figure out that A is something like precocious anemia, but I don't know, I butchered the pronunciation, but you know what I'm talking about. Or something like Crohn's disease or something like that. Again, it have no way to go back or fix that in any way, shape or form. What we had to do now is again find a regime that working for me, set my B12 to once every 10 days or once every 12 days or 9 days, however it worked for me, and just move from there. And my personal thing was like, why do that test in the first place? And I talk about that in my previous videos, right? Why even do that test in the first place? Because we already know that I'm going to have to take the B12 injections no matter what. Let me just find a regime that's working for me. But basically we need to find out why. Because like everything, if your testosterone levels at 800 nanograms per deciliter, but you still have low testosterone symptoms, you can't go ahead and just administer testosterone or TRT because you're feeling like you have low testosterone symptoms. You have to get to the bottom of why you're feeling like you have low testosterone symptoms even though on the chart your level is perfect. That is basically the same thing with the B12. In the past, I did have a surgery to correct 4 fissures, 2 from my outer sphincter and 2 from the inner sphincter. Now, the 2 from the outer sphincter went straight up past the inner sphincter, and then the 2 from the inner sphincter went a little further up into my lower intestine. The surgeon then, he had to correct all that, so he literally had to go up and surgically correct those fissures. And if you don't know what a fissure is, I'll put what a fissure is somewhere on the screen so you can know what the definition of a fissure is, right? Basically, when you have a surgery like that, or when you have damage to your lower intestine, the probability of getting something like anemia or something like Crohn's disease literally skyrockets. So we had to figure out which it is. If it's the B12 carrier, which is the IF, the intrinsic factor test that we had to do, that is the blood test part of it. That is the molecule from your stomach that transporting the B12 to your lower intestine, or if it's just a lower intestine problem with absorption. In that case, it might be something like Crohn's disease. When we figure that out, then we could ignore the serum levels and start looking at other things. I know there was some other, I think it's MMA or something, I can't remember, not mixed martial arts. If I find it, I'll put it on the screen so you'll know what I'm talking about, right? It's another test to check your actual B12 levels in your cells through a blood test and not your serum levels that floating around your blood. So basically what it means is, in my case right now, even though, because this is what we are suspecting, right? Even though I have, let me say, 650 to 750 range on paper, so when I do a blood test, the B12 level will come back at between 650 or 750 right now. That is the range of B12 that floating around your bloodstream. That doesn't necessarily mean that 650 or 750 getting absorbed by your cells, your muscles, your brain, and all these kinds of things. So what this test does is actually test the levels that reach into your cells and your brain and the places that it's supposed to go, basically, and not just floating around in your bloodstream. That is what we're suspecting right now. The only way to figure out which it is to do these set of tests. So we have to do first the intrinsic factor test, rule that out of the way. That's the simplest one. So we rule that out of the way. If it's not that, if it's that, we stop right there. And then we find a regimen with the B12. But if it's not that, then we have to move on to stool sample test. And with the stool sample test, we're looking for things like anemia, we're looking for things like Crohn's disease, something that causing a depletion or a malabsorption when I put the accurate amount into my system. So basically what I mean, no matter what, whether I go this way or that way, I basically have to be on B12 injections for the rest of my life. Now the good thing about B12 injections is that it don't work like hormones like testosterone, where your body will become accustomed to the dosage and after a time you'll have to up the dosage. Let me just say I get my B12 regimen to around once every 10 days. That might be for a period, and then it might extend to like once every 2 weeks. If that's not working, there are things to use like sublingual B12 medications that you could use in between, like on the 10th day, and then you go on the 14th day or on the 18th day for your shot. We will cross that bridge when we reach it. But for the most part, whichever way it swings, I need to be on B12 shots now for the rest of my life. Basically like TRT. So all the expensive tests that I have to do and I need to do and I'm going to do still is basically just to figure out why. Whether it's the intrinsic factor, which is the protein in your stomach that carries the B12 to your lower intestine for absorption, or if the intrinsic factor working properly, if it's the lower intestine itself that can't absorb the B12 because of something like anemia or Crohn's disease, or even from the surgery that I do to fix the ruptures in my lower intestine. This finished video is going to be about, let me say, 6 to 8 minutes long, and it take me about 30 minutes to record this video. That's to tell you how much brain fog I have right now. It literally taken me about 4 to 5 takes just to get one sentence out. That is a side effect of the B12 crashing again. This is the lowest I've been in the longest while, like probably since cancer. So 133.4 pounds at 5'11" is not a good healthy weight to be at. Even though I'm eating a surplus of 5,000 calories for the past 10 days probably. Apparently everything not staying in my body, not getting absorbed. This is about 133.4 pounds looking right now. Like, bro, do you even lift? And you call yourself a trainer and a nutritionist?